the best form and size. She must be good to sail and yet able to row fast with a strong crew, and she must have room to house a goodly number of rowing and fighting men. You, Edmund, might, before we start, consult King Alfred. He must have seen at Rome and other parts on the Mediterranean the ships in use there, which are doubtless far in advance of our own. For we know from the Holy Bible that 1,000 years ago St. Paul made long voyages in ships, and doubtless they have learned much since those days. Edmund thought the idea a good one, and asked the king to make him a drawing of the vessels in use in the Mediterranean. This King Alfred readily did, and Egbert and Edmund then journeyed to Exeter, where, finding out the man most noted for his skill in building ships, they told him the object they had in view, and showed him the drawings the king had made. There were two of them, the one a long galley rowed with double banks of oars, the other a heavy trading ship. "This would be useless to you," the shipwright said, laying the second drawing aside. "It would not be fast enough either to overtake or to fly. The other galley would, methinks, suit you well. I've seen a drawing of such a ship before. It's a war galley such as used by the Genoese in their fights against the African pirates. They are fast and roomy, and have plenty of accommodation for the crews. One of them, well manned and handled, should be a match for 6 at least of the Danish galleys, which are much lower in the water and smaller in all ways. But it will cost a good deal of money to build such a ship." "I will devote all the revenues of my land to it until it is finished," Edmund said. "I will place 100 serfs at your service, and will leave it to you to hire as many craftsmen as may be needed. I intend to build her in a quiet place in a deep wood on the river Parrot, so that she may escape the eyes of the Danes." "I shall require seasoned timber," the shipwright urged. "That will I buy," Edmund replied, "as you shall direct, and can have it brought up the river to the spot." "Being so large and heavy," the shipwright said, "she will be difficult to launch. Methinks it were best to dig a hole or a dock at some distance from the river. Then when she is finished a way can be cut to the river wide enough for her to pass out. When the water is turned in it will float her up level to the surface, and as she will not draw more than 2 feet of water, the cut need not be more than 3 feet deep." "That will be the best plan by far," Edmund agreed, "for you can make the hole so deep that you can build her entirely below the level of the ground. Then we can, if need be, fill up the hole altogether with bushes and cover her up, so that she would not be seen by a Danish galley rowing up the river, or even by any of the enemy who might enter the wood unless they make special search for her, and there she could lie until I chose to embark." The shipwright at once set to work to draw out his plans, and a week later sent to Edmund a messenger with an account of the quantity and size of wood he should require. This was purchased at once. Edmund and Egbert with their serfs journeyed to the spot they had chosen, and were met there by the shipwright, who brought with him 20 craftsmen from Exeter. The wood was brought up the river, and while the craftsmen began to cut it up into fitting sizes, the serfs applied themselves to dig the deep dock in which the vessel was to be built. End of chapter 4. Recording by Mike Harris.